Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth, alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi, Andy. And
It's Wednesday.
and Nation.
Second Breakfast Nation. It is Wednesday, which means we have our usual installment for you of the epic undertaking Project Melway, brought to you by
The Gibsonian Institute. Ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, the Gibsonian Institute has asked us to watch every single movie that Mel Gibson has ever acted in and do it in chronological order. And we are doing it. But Andy, wait, there's news.
Is there?
We have received a notice from the Gibsonian Institute.
Yes,
They have upped the challenge.
because it's not daunting enough.
No, I think they've seen what we've been able to do, and they're amazed. And what they've asked us is to expand the number of films that we see.
Thank goodness.
How can you do that? The job is the job.
Might one ask, as well one may.
Yeah.
And I do. How would we do that, Phil?
We are going to expand by 2. We are going to add Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto. Because both of these movies are the only movies that Gibson has directed that he was not acting in. Everything else in Mel Gibson's filmography is like he either has an uncredited role for a second in a movie, or he is like maybe a exec producer on something. But
Right.
Apocalypto and Passion of the Christ are absolutely unquestionably big chunks of the Mel Gibson filmography, even though he's not in them.
Yes.
And so the Gibsonian Institute has asked us, and we have humbly accepted the challenge.
Yes.
And we'll watch Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto as part of the Mel Gibson experience.
And it's interesting that they sent us this missive this week. For this week, we are discussing, for Project Melway, brought to you by the Gibsonian Institute, Mel Gibson's very first directorial offering.
His directorial
The Man-
debut.
debut, The Man Without a Face.
Yes, it is the
Yes.
first time Mel Gibson. I think the fact that it was the first movie he directed, coupled with the fact that Easter was yesterday, the Gibsonian Institute must have woken up and said, "What are we thinking?"
Sure.
So,
Yes.
The Man Without a Face, his directorial debut.
Yes.
I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to start. I always look to you in times like this because I feel like like, here's what I know. I know that if I have somewhere to start, it's going to be something very, very specific, and that'll color the tone of much of our conversation. If I don't know where to start, I ask you, and you usually get us started in a very simple way that always actually leads to some very good conversation.
Well, I think that's right, and I think the and by that's right, I don't mean I'm amazing because I always start us off the right way. I mean simple is the way to go. Simple is the way to go. I especially now because we could talk. I mean, we could do an hour just on the fact that he's now a director. But let's save that for a bit. Let's attack this the way that we attack most of them, which is we just start with the plot.
Oh yes.
We start with the acting, and then we move into directorial choices. But this time we can also bring Mel Gibson into that as well.
I have so many things to say. I took notes this time. For only the second time in Melway history, I took notes.
Nice.
Yes.
So, Man Without a Face takes place in the late 60s?
Yes.
Late 60s? In a Maine town? Yes, because they talk about Bangor. It's like a summer location.
You're right.
This single mother with 3 kids by 3 different fathers, because she is a serial marrier.
Right. She's the marrying kind.
Yeah, she is the marrying kind. They go off to their summer cottage, and the boy is two daughters and a boy. The boy is the middle, I believe, and he has recently failed an entrance exam for a military academy, and he wants to leave his home life behind. Mostly at the beginning of the movie, mostly because his older sister might be the most evil character in the history of film. just the worst.
And she's a ginger.
Ugh.
And she's gorgeous.
And she's gorgeous.
Which matters. Like if
no, it's true.
They're making a statement by making her a gorgeous, evil ginger.
It's true. I agree
with you. Whether you want it to be or not.
I agree with that statement. And he realizes very quickly he can't do it on his own. He can't study for this and pass the exam if he takes it a second time on his own. So there is a recluse played by Mel Gibson who has been horribly scarred, and you find out why over the course of the movie. Half of his face, and as you see, half of his body, or at least half of his torso, has been horribly scarred with burn scars. But he used to be a teacher, and so he gets him to teach him. So the young boy, played by Nick Stahl, who so unmemorably grew up to play the future leader of the Resistance in T3.
To be fair, please, for a second.
Yes.
Nick Stahl very memorably grew up to play the lead in an HBO television show called Carnival, which was on for 2 seasons.
Yes.
And him alongside of our guy,
Clancy Brown,
the two of them chewed scenery like it was jerky.
Oh, totally, absolutely.
And some of our longtime listeners, the Robs, Mike and Vanessa, and I, we watched Carnival together, and it was had conversations about it a lot. I mean, it was
I kid, but I love.
No, sure. And the funny thing is, I love him so much from Carnival that I assumed his career was bigger than it was. I looked at his filmography and I was like, nah, pretty much peaked right there. He was in Terminator 3, and that movie was not good. Not his fault, just not good. And he was in The Bedroom, briefly.
Have not seen that. Heard it was unbelievably depressing.
You should see that.
I know I should.
With other people in the daytime, and then go out and do something fun. Because no,
I have heard that. It's
the most depressing.
So this movie is the story of Nick Stahl's character and Mel Gibson's character forming a friendship, and everyone learning a valuable lesson, shall we say. Other really interesting things happen that we'll get to, but that's the plot in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And
by the way, no one knows that he's visiting this recluse. The recluse has a weird reputation. The Mel Gibson Man Without a Face has a reputation, or there's words going around about why he is the way he is and what he did, and there's all sorts of rumors about him. And so Nick Stahl's character
keeps it under wraps.
And no one knows that. No one really knows that he's visiting him.
I want to point out something. This will tell you why I was a terrible kid, and why I'm not much better as an adult. When I saw the posters for Man Without a Face, I was like, he clearly has at least half of a face. I was promised no face.
Yeah, no, kids are incapable of understanding symbolism and irony in ways that adults are, and that one of our, we forget that in our desire to worship.
We were old enough. We were teenagers. I was just a jerk.
You reminded me of something. Punk. No, I mean, I don't know. I remember thinking the same. I still think, and I watched it. I'm like, he has a face.
Right.
Like
there is
the Man Without a Face.
50% more face than I was expecting.
To me, the Man Without a Face would be something like someone being anonymous.
Yes.
Or literally being scarred in such a way that he had no face. This man had first of all, if half my face looked as good as half of Mel Gibson's face in 1993, I would be psyched. Here's some math. If half of my face looked half as good as half of Mel's face in 1993, I would be psyched. How dare you say you have half a face or no face, Man Without a Face, when half of your face looks like Mel Gibson in 1993? Ladies, ladies and gay gentlemen, I know that Mel Gibson has developed a reputation now where it is almost impossible for people to find him attractive. Don't get anachronistic. In 1993, everybody knows Mel Gibson was adorable, gorgeous, handsome. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, but I will say this to me, because I've got complete and utter Stockholm Syndrome now and will defend Mel Gibson to the death for no reason. I mean, it's Stockholm Syndrome. He is my captive, and I love him. Mm-hmm. I think that Mel Gibson has, with the exception perhaps of Forever Young, the movie we watched last week, he has, like, if you look at his track record, he's not interested in making himself the prettiest person in the world.
True. That is true. That's true.
So I find that really fun, and I think this movie is an example of that. This may be the quintessential Mel Gibson film.
I would love to hear your reasoning. I'd love to hear your reasoning on this.
And this film is incredibly prophetic. Mel Gibson makes a movie about a millionaire or rich person living in a mansion up on a cliff all by himself, and everyone thinks of him as ugly and terrible and possibly a monster. And the man who lives in the mansion is played by Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it's true.
And according to the character, he's misunderstood, just wants another chance. Mel Gibson made a movie about Mel Gibson 20 years early. Come on, people. And had the foresight to cast himself.
Yeah, he's like Nostradamus or Miss Cleo. It's unbelievable.
You don't find that the least bit interesting.
I find it, because one word cannot encapsulate all of my feelings about what you have just told me. Yes, I find it interesting.
Did you?
I will put
I
it
have a
that
question.
way.
When you were watching it, did you think of that?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I know, totally. No, I did.
Okay.
I did. That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
The other thing, we'll talk about why. Do you want to talk about why it's the quintessential Mel Gibson movie now or later?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'd have to really think about this. I was hoping you'd say later. Okay,
let's do it later.
Okay,
no,
good.
Let's talk about the acting. Nick Stahl and Mel Gibson are very good.
Yes.
They're very good.
Nick Stahl is wonderful. Oh, I want to say something about Mel Gibson choosing himself to play the lead character.
Okay.
A lot of actors go into directing. Andy and I were talking about this before this episode, before we started filming, and they say stuff like, "What I really want to do is direct," and what they really mean is, "What I really want to do is direct myself."
Yes.
And when you know that the first two movies that Gibson made as a director were this one and Braveheart, it would be very easy to think that that is the case for Mel Gibson. But Mel Gibson was quoted as saying that he only cast himself after two other people he pursued turned him down or couldn't do it for scheduling reasons. And it would be easy not to believe him.
Right.
Except that once he had the money and the capacity to make the movies he wanted to make, he stopped casting himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And I find that really interesting. I mean, with Passion and with Apocalypto, he chose not to cast himself. And obviously, I don't really think he could have cast himself in Apocalypto, but he easily could have cast himself in Passion of the Christ.
Yes.
I mean, there's 1,000 different ways he could have cast himself as Pilate. He could have cast himself in it. I mean, it's just, you could just, as Peter, as anyone you wanted. Yeah. Instead, he is in one scene of Passion of the Christ. His hand is the hand holding the nail and hammering Jesus' hand into the cross.
Fascinating.
But obviously,
that's something I knew when it came out, but I had forgotten.
But we're not going to talk about that movie yet. We're talking about this movie, and I think that it's interesting to me. I think he probably really did think, I don't want to cast myself, but okay, he was still at a point where him being in a movie got a movie made.
Yes.
And not still at a point. He was now really at that point.
Right.
And so this movie was very, very inexpensive, cost him like $30 million, and then he was in it. And so I think they thought it was going to,
Right. Yeah, I would go even further. Like, if you're pitching it and the first two words out of your mouth are Mel Gibson, at this point, the movie's getting made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just he'll get a movie made.
So you go, is going to direct. And then they go, well, he's never directed. And so I think putting him in it as an actor, I think that's what you needed to do.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think he does a fine job. I don't think it's anything special. I think he's by this point, I think he's finally gotten rid of any vestige of an Australian accent in his American accent.
True.
It took him some time, but I think he's there now. I think he grandstand. I mean, it's fine. I liked the movie a lot less on second viewing.
Sure. This was my first time seeing the movie, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was great. Mm-hmm. Margaret Whitten plays the mother.
Let's talk about Margaret Whitten a little bit. Another sassy redhead.
Yes.
She's an
You
80s movie, 80s, late 80s, early 90s movie mainstay.
you might know her as the evil owner from Major League. You might also know her as
I
the
I don't. I know her as the attractive owner from Major League who was just trying to do the right thing and got her plans hoodwinked by a bunch of miscreants.
nice, well done, well played there.
Hooray,
You
capitalism.
you might also know her as the weirdly seductively incestuous aunt from the Michael J. Fox '80s vehicle Secret of My Success, which is an utterly charming movie, especially considering it includes incest.
I'd never thought of that. Well, they're not
She's his
related.
aunt.
Yeah, but by marriage, right?
I don't think so.
I think by
No,
marriage.
no,
No?
because the husband is the one that is not actually married, is married into the family. I think. Let me put it this way: is it not still a little creepy?
I don't know. She's yes. Yes. I always thought it was creepy that she was older, not that she was when I saw the movie and I was a kid.
You know what? I agree with you. I agree with you. Ew, older women, blah blah blah. Yeah, no. Yes.
Now I'm like, what up? But
Totally.
no, when I saw her in this movie the other night, I got really excited
Yes.
to
Yes.
see her again, and she looks stunning as she always did in the '90s and her
Yes.
in late '80s.
Gabby Hoffman plays the youngest child, the younger sister. She is absolutely adorable.
Can we talk about Gabby Hoffman for a second?
Please
Gabby
do.
Hoffman, my wife goes, "Where do I know her from?" And I was like, "Everything in the '90s."
Yeah, Sleepless in
And
Seattle.
she was only in a couple things actually. Once you look at her, when you look at her filmography, she was only in a couple things. But when you look at what she was in, like for our generation, okay, she was in, and this is just like late '80s, early '90s. Gabby Hoffman, ready?
Yep.
Field of Dreams was her first film,
Mm-hmm.
followed immediately by Uncle Buck.
Right?
Huge. So right there, if she had only been in those two movies, everyone our generation would know her.
That's a career right there.
She was then in This Is My Life, which was not a good film, but it was a movie that a Nora Ephron movie that I saw because it had Nora Ephron and Julie Kavner was starring in it, and it was right after The Simpsons came out.
Okay.
So I saw it, and it also had Samantha Mathis, who had just been in Pump Up the Volume, which was one of my favorite movies of being a middle schooler.
Nice.
It was a perfect junior high movie, Pump Up the Volume.
Nice.
Okay, then she was in Sleepless in Seattle, and then Man Without a Face. So just those 5 movies, everyone our generation knows who Gabby Hoffman is. She was also in a couple years later a movie called Now and Then,
Right.
which again girls our age will have seen.
Right.
She was in Everyone Says I Love You. So artsy, fartsy people, Woody Allen people like me would know that. And then she was in Volcano. And then after that, it's just sort of a mess. But you can see that Gabby Hoffman, for our generation, it's like, come on.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Are there any other important roles? Not really. Not really.
The redhead. Mention the redhead.
Oh, yeah. I don't know her name. The oldest sister is gorgeous and unbelievably like if she were male, I would say she is mustache twirlingly evil. They even talk about it. They even like Nick Stahl's character Horstat.
Why is
what's
she
his
evil?
first name? I don't even remember his
Charles.
first name.
Charles.
Right? Chuck. Charles and his mother talk about her, and she's like, why does she, meaning the older sister, why does she hate me? And Margaret Whitten's like, because you were born. And he's like,
Yeah.
awesome, great.
Because she's the mom is basically like, I don't know, my kids. She's sort of like, look, everybody has some bad kids.
Yeah.
You have enough. Some of them have to be bad, right?
Right? There's a moment where Margaret Whitten slaps the older daughter, and I almost cheered. I was like,
You know what was funny though? She looked at her. This was bad directing. She looked at her, and I actually think Mel Gibson becomes an accomplished director. I think the last movie that he directed, Apocalypto, is really great. I really do. Like, I think Apocalypto is a really good movie,
Okay.
well constructed. There's some really bad direction in this movie, and one of those is that moment before she slaps her. A full 3 seconds before she slaps her, or 4 seconds, I go, gonna slap her.
Yep.
And by the way, not like she should slap her, not like there might be a slap coming. Literally, I was like, gonna slap her. And then it was like, slap! And I was like, come on. Come on. It was the only thing that could have happened there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's true.
so, But this movie, this is a perfect time, I think, to say this,
Yeah.
might be incredibly misogynistic.
Okay.
Now,
Say more.
I will,
Yeah.
before I even say why I think that,
Yeah.
what I'm about to say is the kind of thing that if someone had said to me in college, I would
Mm-hmm.
have been like, shut your stupid liberal face. Like, I am about to be someone that I am becoming what I used to behold and hate. So,
Nice.
um, not a liberal, by the way, but just someone who says things like this. I don't care if it was meant to be. Like, I think this is the thing I wouldn't have liked. I would have said it's not meant to be, it was not intentionally misogynistic, and someone would have said, yeah, it might not be intentionally misogynistic, but it's misogynistic anyway. And I would
Indeed.
have been like, no, someone does what they mean, and that's what it is.
Right.
I don't think that Mel Gibson meant to be misogynistic in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman in this film is either despicable or useless.
Yes.
Gabby Hoffman is adorable.
But
Full
useless.
stop. Full stop. That's it.
Yes.
She's adorable, and that's it.
Yep.
When the mom decides to marry her fifth husband,
Right.
Gabby Hoffman's character immediately is like, "Yay, new daddy!" With like no pause of skepticism. Like she's like, "We get a new dad finally. We haven't had one in like a month."
Yeah.
Like it's just completely and utterly ready for it. And not. And by the way, I'm sure there could be a plot there about why that would be the case. We're not given it.
Right.
Redhead girl is a villain.
Yes.
And by the way, you said, are we done talking about casting? No, we're not, because her boyfriend, Peter DeLuise.
Louise, yes.
Or is it Peter DeLuise? Peter DeLuise is the older brother who was on
Michael DeLuise.
Michael DeLuise, who
They
was
were
in.
both on 21 Jump Street.
They were both on 21 Jump Street, but Peter DeLuise was really on 21 Jump Street. Like Michael
Yeah.
DeLuise came on later on, but Peter DeLuise helped make it famous. He was Johnny Depp's foil on the first couple seasons of like they were like very different from each other, like compadre. He
Yes.
was sort of like
You
the
ready for
more
this?
goofy.
You ready for something exciting? I waited on them having dinner in New York City.
That is exciting.
Yes, they were lovely people. Lovely people.
When you were at Foos or the other place?
Foos.
All right, that's great.
Foos.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So the thing about Michael DeLuise is that he's the bad guy in Encino Man.
Indeed.
So
Indeed
I
he
don't
is.
care what he does for the rest of his life. He did that.
That's a career, man. Totally.
For me, I'm happy as a
totally.
clam. So when I saw him, I was like, DeLuise! Couldn't remember it was Michael DeLuise. I had to look it up. And then in my notes, in all capital letters, Michael
And
DeLuise.
interestingly, they set him up as almost like a villain, but then he's actually just sort of a normal kid.
It's just a normal kid. That's the thing is all the men, well,
Yeah.
not all the men, because the sheriff is an idiot. And
Right.
the judge, all the bureaucracy is like it's a movie of broad strokes. I think that's the thing.
Yes.
I think that Gibson as a director, one of the reasons why I say this movie is a quintessential Mel Gibson film. One is Mel Gibson's in it. Quintessential Mel Gibson film should have
Yes,
Mel Gibson in it.
that's a criterion.
He is a misunderstood loner hero who is not pretty. Or is partially pretty at least, but has ugliness and prettiness. Okay,
Right,
this is
I like it.
almost every Mel Gibson movie. Okay, from a directing standpoint, though I think again Apocalypto is really great. One of the things I love about Apocalypto is it's about one specific thing. It's basically an hour and a half long chase sequence.
Nice. Okay.
But the reason why that's not a complaint is that's what it is meant to be.
Right.
Like he sets the movie up as this thing, and that's what this movie is, and he accomplishes it perfectly.
Yeah.
But as a director, I have a hard time seeing him as nuanced. I think that Braveheart is just painted with the broadest strokes possible.
Indeed.
And like just the biggest, fattest brush. It's like
We'll get there in a couple weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, agreed.
And I think this movie is very broad strokes. So the
Yeah.
bureaucracy is just this mindless, this face of this blank face of misunderstanding and hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
The women are
Something interesting.
irredeemable. The
Sure.
mom is useless. The little sister is useless, and the older sister is just cruel.
Yes. Something interesting, and this ties into potentially the sort of the latent misogyny, and also perhaps the prophetic nature of it, which I do like. You know, the man living alone, potentially misunderstood. It is not, I think, therefore an accident that when he is tutoring him, the Shakespeare passage they discuss is the "if you prick us, do we not bleed" Shylock speech.
It was yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
it was very, very much. And then later on, he does a thing. He's like, "Do you see me, or do
Right.
you just see this?" Pointing to
Yes.
his scar for our
Indeed.
radio listeners. It's pretty ridiculous. Okay, you know this movie is based on a book.
I was hoping, I think I know what we were about to discuss, and I was hoping we would. Yes,
Okay,
I do know it's based on the book. I have not read the book.
no one has. Okay, why were we about to discuss this?
Because, so the third act is, the third act of the plot, the tutoring is found out, and it comes out that Mel Gibson's character was disfigured in a car crash coming back from some sort of like debate tournament with a student who was killed in the crash, and it was strongly, and he was sort of railroaded out of his job because he was accused basically of molesting that student. And so it is.
And according to him in the movie, the boy had developed an obsession with him.
But he was like, I don't know how to handle this, but I know that it's wrong, and we're not gonna do anything about it.
And when he turned him down, the boy like grabbed the wheel of the car and steered them into traffic or whatever.
Right.
That's why the accident happened.
Right.
The boy died. So he's,
So then when this misunderstood and recluse is found in and basically no one on the island knows about this previous life of Mel Gibson's because he is a recluse. Right. But Nick Stahl's character sort of spills the beans, and then people figure out the rest.
Right.
And then it is figured out that this tutoring relationship is happening, and he is sort of, without really accusing him, it's very like McCarthyism. Like without really accusing him, he is accused of molesting Nick Stahl's character and is told to leave town.
Yes. No, agreed. It's very McCarthy's is a great. I mean, it's again broad strokes. We'll find a way to get you. I mean, the judge has the perfect mustache that covers his face. Everybody's sort of just very like, it's very broad strokes. So,
but this is shall we say, a small but crucial change from the book. Phil, say why.
In the book, he's actually a molester. Mel Gibson decided to he wasn't the one who chose the book. Someone else chose the story.
Yes.
And wrote the screenplay, but they chose to write out any or boulderize
yes
the book by making it basically I guess the book, as far as I understand it, either he clearly molested him or it's not very clear, but all it takes, I mean, it's not as clear as Lolita where it describes it.
Indeed.
But it's clear in the sense of like you get the sense this actually is there's a pedophile relationship going on here.
Yes.
And if there isn't, it's so much room for suspicion that
yes.
Like if you were gonna make a movie that was faithful to the book, you would either make the guy a molester, or a child, whatever you want to call it, a pederast or something. I don't know. Right. Or you would make the movie, or you would make it about a guy like where it's so questionable and you never actually know if he's innocent or not.
Yeah.
This movie, he is very clearly innocent.
He's flat out innocent.
Very, very clearly wrongly. And Gibson said as much. Gibson said, I don't want to make that movie. That's disgusting.
I will give him this credit. He said, and this is on the Wikipedia page for the movie, and I did not do a lot of digging to get this, but he said, I read the script first, and that's what I responded to. And I get that. You know what I mean? Like sure. whichever thing came first, obviously the book came first because the script was adapted from it, but that doesn't mean... that has no bearing on which work of art you experience first. And I can see attaching yourself to the first thing that you read. I just think that if one of the characters, if there is any of the characters, and they are all painted with broad strokes, even the central two, if there's one of the characters that could have really done wonders by giving him layers, it is clearly that teacher. Yep. It is clearly Mel Gibson's character. And that is one way in which they could have done it. And they had a roadmap to do it.
Yeah,
And they
but
didn't.
he was just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm not going to get into that territory. And
Yes.
and basically, he made some comment about like, why would I want to make a movie about that? Like, I'd rather make a movie that's positive and uplifting.
Right.
It's like that's
Not for
fine. Then make a
nothing.
different movie.
Not for nothing. And I don't know that I want to ascribe just this amount of calculation to him, but we have discussed over Melway, over the progress of Project Melway, we have discussed how he has done a lot of really smart and intuitive, I am building a career choices. You know, he starred in The Year of Living Dangerously at the right time. You know, like he starred in Lethal Weapon and then Lethal Weapon 2 at the right time. You know, he did Hamlet at the right time. I don't know that I want to ascribe this amount of calculation to him, but it was not the right time. Doing it in his directorial debut, he might not have felt it was the right time to attack something, to tackle a subject matter that big.
No, I think by taking out that level of taking out that controversy, you make a much more simple film, and that's okay. There are many good simple films. Okay. But I think you make a much more simple film that is much more tackleable or manageable for a first-time director. So I don't know if that's I don't know what was really going on in his head. Maybe he was just literally like, I don't want to make a movie about a molester. Right. I love the idea of working between a relationship between an older man and a younger man as far as their what's that word? Mentoring and teaching, and the idea of redemption and the idea of false accusation. We remember he's a staunch Catholic. Redemption and false accusation are fun things. Treating women like useless pieces of furniture or evil is also very Catholic. It doesn't have to be Catholic. I apologize. My Protestant roots came out there. It doesn't have to be Catholic, but you all know what I'm not. But you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The idea of it, that is not all Catholicism by any means, but we do know there is oftentimes a sort of symbolism of like, what do you do with a woman that what's a woman capable of? Being perfectly innocent or else being the tempter.
Yes.
And I think he goes down that route here.
Yeah.
Also, I don't have a lot else to say about this movie. I think it's an interesting. I think it's a great example of a Mel Gibson movie. It's not that great. Mel Gibson hasn't made a lot of great movies, but it's totally watchable. Mel Gibson makes watchable movies.
I'm not sad I saw it finally. You know,
it's elements of a Mel Gibson movie, and both of what it means to be an actor in a Mel Gibson movie, but also for him to. And I think it sets the table for what kind of a director he would become, both in its promising and its problematic areas.
Well said. Well said.
The last thing I want to say is that he begins teaching Norstad the way Mr. Miyagi teaches Daniel.
Yes.
And it was really like, I was like, really? He's like, dig a hole. Why? Dig a hole.
Yeah, yes.
And then later on, he's teaching him how to do this circumference of circles based on the hole he dug and all this. And it's like, okay, it was fine. Whatever. It was just, I mean, it's a trifle.
Indeed.
What's coming up next?
Next 3 weeks, Maverick. So excited.
Yes.
Braveheart. Excited fine. Pocahontas. You ready for this?
Not excited.
I have never seen Pocahontas.
Neither have I, Andy Roth.
You know what?
Both,
we're gonna
Disney,
do?
Both Disney cartoon fans never seen Pocahontas.
Yes, we're gonna paint with all the colors of the wind.
Oh God, is that one of the songs?
I think so.
I am so much less excited, and I was already unexcited.
Oh,
I am excited for this.
Don't let my curmudgeonness dissuade you. I'm excited.
Andy, are you suggesting that it's your curmudgeonness that's getting in the way of me enjoying myself? Are you suggesting that I don't have enough curmudgeonness for both of us and all who listen?
It's a fair point.
Okay. Here's the thing. I am excited about Pocahontas, and in a couple of weeks after that Chicken Run, because I will have. So I actually really like Chicken Run, but I will have Project Melway films to share with my daughter.
Amen. That is
because we're probably not going to watch The Patriot together.
No, absolutely not. So that's it. Maverick, Braveheart, Pocahontas.
So excited.
Those are the next 3 weeks.
You guys,
set your cues.
It's the salad days of Melway. If you want to be a Johnny Come Lately, now's the time.
Yeah, now's the time. We are fully in the worst thing you could say about it is it's watchable phase of his career.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we've got some real gems. I mean, Maverick is in my top 5 of Mel Gibson movies. I'm very excited.
Absolutely.
It's got everybody in it.
Man Without a Face. An interesting failure. Perhaps only interesting because of what it means in the larger scope of various people's careers.
I am pretty convinced that Man Without a Face is interesting. By the way, I watched the behind-the-scenes featurette afterwards that was on the DVD. It's like 10 minutes long.
Okay.
And it was filmed by the most disinterested Mel Gibson 10 years later. It was like, it's priceless. He's so, not only doesn't care about the movie, but is at that point, I think it was like right before his breakdown, because he's literally just like,
I am so sad that I've already sealed the Netflix envelope.
Yeah,
I'm so sad.
It was interesting. Okay, I think the only reason this movie is an interesting failure, is because you and I really do have Stockholm Syndrome and are just like, Mel Gibson, what did you do now?
Send help! Send help!
Call the police. So I've been blinking in Morse code for the last hour and a half.
Nice. So that'll do it for another installment of Project Melway, brought to you by the Gibsonian Institute. We are Second Breakfast, Andy Roth and Phil Duvall. That was Man Without a Face. Next week, Maverick. Very excited. That'll do it for today.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.